Do you love everything football? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Beyond the Touchline, a Football Manager Central podcast with your hosts, Paul, Ryan, and Colin.
Good evening and welcome to Beyond the Touchline. As it says, I am your host, Paul, and we have Ryan and Colin, as it has explained. How are you this evening, gentlemen?
Excellent. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Ryan?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm good. We are recording this just before the MLS playoff finals, Colin.
Absolutely. It is a big night tonight. We have the New York Red Bulls away in leg one, taking on the Columbus Crew. And then the late game is FC Dallas in Portland, taking on the Portland Timbers. So I am excited. I have my MLS Cup tickets. If the Red Bulls make it, it will be held at Red Bull Arena. So I have my seats secured to go to MLS Cup. Now I just need the Red Bulls to finish the job.
I genuinely think you're going to do it. You've had a fantastic season. You definitely didn't expect to go up. So, expect to be in the playoffs, sorry. So it's definitely something to be proud of anyway.
Oh, this was supposed to, there's been a lot of articles in the last week or two on how abysmal this season was supposed to be and how negative the mood of the fans was going into this season, and how little expectation there was. And most everyone figured, you know what, if we finished in sixth, that would be a great season, sneak into the playoffs. Hopefully we don't get embarrassed too much, too often. And it's turned out to be exactly the opposite. This has been a team first. There's no real glaring superstars, but there's also no real, serious weaknesses. There's been a fantastic system implemented. Jesse Marsch has brought in sort of a Klopp-esque high press, possession-oriented system that's just taken into the team so well. They played fantastically. The Supporters Shield was a huge deal to bring back that piece of hardware to New York. Getting a CONCACAF Champions League bid for the next cycle for next summer is again another fantastic achievement to help the club grow. Conference final, so one step away from the ultimate dream, which is lifting MLS Cup for the first time in franchise history. So can't wait.
I think it's going to be an exciting time for yourself. There's a lot of buzz going around New York at the minute because obviously Raul has just retired, ending his career, along with Marco Senna, ending his career at New York Cosmos, who won the North American Soccer League Bowl, if I am correct.
Yep. There's a lot of buzz. I think Raul was probably never meant to be a term. It was more sell some jerseys, get some people into the stands to try and help. NASL is in a bit of a battle with MLS and the USL in trying to carve out a good market for itself to help it grow, to really, sort of reestablish itself in the U.S. soccer landscape. MLS, unfortunately, has the money and the, prestige at this point right now and are swallowing up their markets. I think San Antonio isn't going to be back next year in the NASL. They lost their stadium down there. Minnesota United is moving to MLS in a couple of seasons. So, it's a little bit of a shame that they're kind of poaching each other all over the place. But, that the game is growing at its highest level, I think is nothing but a positive. And then now U.S. soccer and the different leagues have to kind of get things together to figure out how to streamline, the whole support system in this country.
I think it's going to be an interesting few years. I mean, I'm obviously constantly saying to you they should bring in promotion and relegation for the MLS, but I think one of the issues which maybe gets overlooked, Colin, is the fact that it appears all the leagues I know the MLS is somehow linked to one side of it, but all the leagues seem to be running separately from each other.
Yeah, so they are all individual leagues. They are under the umbrella of U.S. Soccer, but each of the leagues are independent entities. So MLS and the USL are probably the tightest, with MLS investing heavily in USL to where a lot of their clubs are investing for their feeder clubs. But they are independent. In terms of promotion relegation, it's not something I think is going to happen anytime in the near term. I doubt in my lifetime. I think there's just too much money involved at the MLS level at this point, and with the various different markets, and some of the secondary markets, and that you're not going to get the number of people coming to games in some of the lower tiers to support willingness to do that, and to have to make the umbrella payments and things like that. It's not something I think is gonna really sail past the ownership at MLS.
I mean, do you not think that's I mean, it's stupid. I mean, if I go to Ryan for this, just from the non-US view on it, Ryan, I mean, as Colin said there, you're not going to get maybe the people through the gate, or like the money low down to justify the people buying into the MLS club, for example. But that's the same as in England. Look at the Venky's a prime example. Blackburn didn't actually know teams could get relegated. And then you've got teams right down the level. I mean, teams in the 3rd, 4th, 5th level, some of them are only getting like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people through the gate. And further down, it's a lot less than that. So, I mean, all the levels have this issue around the world where they come in. I just think it's a bit close where they say, "Oh, well, if you buy into the MLS, don't worry, we won't relegate you."
Well, yeah, I can see both viewpoints of why there is no promotion, relegation, and that's why you'd want it added. Because we're looking at it from English perspective, where promotion and relegation is all the big battle in English football and in other football around the world. But like Colin says, if teams are coming in and they don't have the money to buy into the top MLS, where there is a lot of money, then they're going to struggle, and it's just going to be embarrassing for them, and they'll just be straight up, straight back down. So you could have that yo-yo concept where a team could go up and then go straight back down.
Well, yeah, it probably will happen for a few years whilst they stabilise themselves, and some clubs end up bouncing up and down a couple of times, and once they've kind of financially stabilised themselves from being up there a couple of times, they then bring in a couple of players, and you end up seeing somebody else go down. I don't know. I would like to see a change, Colin.
It makes it very unique, and I think for America it's a good thing, because if you have that promotion relegation, I think you could end up with what's happening in major football now, where you're getting big major buyers coming in that have got loads of money. I think if that went over to America, it would destroy what America stand for in their soccer terms. Yeah, they don't have people that come in, buy the clubs and go, yeah, we'll have this player, this player, this player, this player, this player, partly because of their many complex rules.
New York City.
Yeah, but you don't want that overtaking American football, because right now it's at a nice standing. You've got a nice set of players in various different teams. It's not just one team that goes over there and dominates, and all the money's going to them.
No, and I think the other issue that you run into is, right, so right now a franchise fee is $125 million, I think, in MLS. So it gets a little rough, right? Like, how do you advertise to existing ownership that's put in $125 million that doesn't go to anything other than paying the league for the right to be there, and then some team that's coming from the 2nd or the 3rd tier that doesn't put that in, getting promotion and relegated? Yeah, I think it's a hard sell.
Can I ask? See, because of the MLS system, this might be something which people don't quite understand. If let's say I contact LA Galaxy and say I want to buy Dos Santos, does all the money go to LA Galaxy?
No.
See, that's the issue, isn't it? That's where the issue comes.
Yeah. So designated players, actually all players, but it's particularly a bigger issue with designated players. I think it's 33% of the transfer fee agreed to by the club. So you don't necessarily you negotiate with the club. You also have to negotiate with MLS. MLS gets 33% of the transfer fee as well. So there's another player involved, right? So you're effectively negotiating with the the FA as well as a club, which makes it a little more complicated, and it helps balance. Part of why they do that is they're trying to balance salary structures and things like that out. So the league absorbs some of the cost in terms, in an effort to bring in higher profile players and try and maintain league parity between the smaller teams and the top tier teams.
But then could we not say now? I'm just trying to look at it from a point of view. What I want to try to do here is put questions across that people listening might actually be thinking.
Sure.
But then could the MLS not do what 99% of other leagues in the world probably do, and they run the league and don't take on the burden of the cost of the players. So, like, say, right, if New York want to have 3 designated players, they've got to pay the wages. So then that would almost balance out. So when clubs come up, if they come up, it's hard to explain, but then it's almost kind of like any other league. So then you have the likes of City and stuff who have more money. But I suppose the MLS is so competitive, so then you don't want that. It's so tough, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
is that putting stuff to you? I then start thinking, no.
well, part of like the players, the money from the league has a lot to do with when the league first founded, right? So when the league first founded with the handful of teams that they had, no one had any idea how much this was going to take on or not. So, it was a risk deal, right? If they spread the risk around and you tried to bring a higher profile, you took the risk to try and bring a higher profile player in to try and get more people into the stands to see the game. The league said, okay, we think that's a worthwhile risk, so we'll cover some of that so that you don't have to cover all of it. And for years, that was that was a big strategy of the Metro Stars, which became the Red Bulls, right? They had Tony Meola, Tab Reyes, Donadoni, Juan Pablo Angel, those type of guys coming in, and the name of the game was, well, if we can get more people to come because they'll watch players that they've heard of, then we can grow the sport more by giving people a product that they recognize. I think that's not as much a deal anymore. For people who haven't watched or may not have watched very much, I strongly encourage you to watch the FC Dallas Portland game tonight. Dallas to me is the anti LA and New York City. So that club is almost entirely a homegrown academy club. They do have some designated players, so Blas Perez plays down there, so they do have some experience, but the overwhelming majority of that team comes out of their academy. It's a very low dollar deal, but they have some fantastic players. So you don't necessarily have to go at it with big money in MLS. As a matter of fact, it's a great save opportunity for the FM players out there that listen to try and do it without a designated player. But there is balance, and I think the league uses the rules that they have in place to try and maintain the parity, so that you don't end up in a situation where you have in like the Premier League, where every year it's Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, and Man U battling it out for the top, except for this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tough because I want to see, because I'm genuinely a fan of the MLS. If it wasn't on such a stupid time, I would watch it nearly every game that's on.
You'll have to forgive us for not bailing around European time.
Well, it's just rude. But I think when it's just frustrating, because I completely agree with the fact that the way it is set up, it does make every single game so competitive because all the teams are so evenly matched. But then I also looked at it from the side where I want to see teams go up and down. I just want to. I think it'll just kind of boost it as well, and it kind of gives the teams lower down something to fight for. Like, imagine seeing the Cosmos back in the top division in the MLS. It would be just amazing to see. And then you have people talking about the old days, and like reminiscing, and before you know it, there's a lot more interest. But then from your side of it, the way obviously it's run, you can understand it. It's a frustrating one to talk. What I will say is, people who don't listen to this as soon as it goes up, as soon as Colin recommended some viewing for just after this goes up, MLSsoccer.com, you can watch all the highlights. So check that out, and you will be able to see exactly what happened in the games. The next topic, we're just going to move over the pond, Colin. So get your own board out. We're going to go to Manchester United, because Ryan stuck this at the top of the stuff he wants to talk about. Ryan, you don't play the best football, but you're winning.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's one of the last things before they went off air of the Man United game, which is what we're saying. Louis van Gaal, the football, it's not aesthetically pleasing. It's not good on the eye to watch, but the results are there, and you can't complain if results are coming.
which I find to be totally fascinating. Given that Dutch football is sort of historically known to be, the absolute total, sort of beautiful game.
Opposite.
And right, and now he's playing, and I totally agree with you. I think it's almost god awful to watch.
It's amazing how many Dutch managers actually play dreadful football, isn't it? There's a lot more than you would think there is.
I mean, I suppose that's probably true to any, managerial backing. But I think the part that I find so surprising is, right, Dutch football is pretty close to the world standard for, sort of the beautiful game there. And Van Gaal is so intimately tied with, with Ajax and sort of the Dutch epicenter of beautiful football, and he plays the absolute antithesis of it.
Maybe as he's getting older, he's just worrying a lot. My fear is for Football Manager fans, knowing how defensive I am, how bad am I going to be in a few years? But
11 at the back.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say, Ryan, what impressed me was after the injury and the change of formation. I thought it was a brave move, but a really good move, because I think it threw Watford off. They spent time trying to adjust to United, then they changed to the 5 at the back with wing backs, and they've got to adjust again, which I think was a nice move to do.
Yeah, you can see Louis van Gaal, he has ideas, he has backup plans, like any manager would. Any manager has a backup plan for their main plan. And the plan that he had there, even with the amount of injuries we had there, it was all backed up. It was good to see, even though it was an own goal to come out with the win. But yeah, it was an interesting game to watch. So I'm just hoping for more interesting football in the future.
Watford looking decent, so I think United can take that away as maybe a game last season you would have actually just left with a point. So.
They were. I think for Watford, I have to say, if they finished what they started, so some of their moves, if they finished them, I reckon Watford would have come out with 3 points in this game. Because they had few opportunities that they could have taken, like the penalty. They took that easily and nicely due to Rojo's clumsy tackle, which we discussed at length on Facebook.
We did once you believed me who he tackled.
Yeah, we got it there. We got there eventually. Colin thought it was Deeney as well, so I wasn't alone.
He's all blind. It's old age for Colin. What's your excuse, Ryan?
I didn't have my glasses on.
Brilliant.
So here's an interesting question, though. So, given the disaster in Spain over the weekend, do you think Van Gaal stays at United if Benitez gets bumped from Real? Is there a potential to tempt him out and maybe move Van Gaal and then maybe move Giggs in and get back to the United way?
I've got to ask, what's that got to do with El Clasico defeat?
So the buzz all over the place of Benitez getting close to getting the boot over it, right? And everybody knows Florentino Perez is notorious.
I thought you were somehow linking Van Gaal with the Real Madrid job.
Well, the question is.
Well, hang on. Whoa, Colin. When we agreed for you to come on this show, you never once came up with these crazy thoughts.
Well,
have we turned you insane?
No, but there's right. So to Ryan's point, right, or to the point of the topic, right? United isn't just a team, right? It's a brand. It's an identity of football, and this very much so isn't it. So, is there an opportunity here to try and move him on to get back to that if there is something bigger and glitterier out there to try and sell him down the road too?
I don't think he'd go to Real Madrid. The fact he's managed Barcelona definitely, I think, would stop that out.
I think Van Gaal, he will see out his contract at United and then Giggs will take over.
I definitely think. I think if they win the title this year, he'll go. But I don't think I think he's done. I don't.
Trouble
think
is he's got to beat Ranieri and the boys over in Leicester for that title now.
Yeah,
I mean, Colin's literally the sink master tonight, so I think we'll pick up Jamie Vardy on that, Colin. Good work. 10 goals in 10 games. And it could have been 11 at the bar. I watched the full game as soon as he played Newcastle. I genuinely had some hope that we could do well. And from minute 1 to minute 90, hands up, Leicester were unbelievable. Just completely dominated. Dominated is a bit of a harsh word for them. I would more say they destroyed. They completely destroyed us. At points, I was glad that there was a few miles between me and the Newcastle players because it was a shambles. Jamie Vardy completely tore us apart. He got a standing ovation off the Newcastle fans when he went off, which was nice to see. He deserved it. He was a class above, and it's fantastic seeing English player in such good form, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, you hope that he'll keep that form up for England, keep the form up for Leicester. Well, maybe not against Man United, but keep the form up for Leicester, keep him up there. It's interesting. I think I don't know if Ben posed it on online league chat. Do you think Leicester will be up there and they could push for either Europa League or Champions League towards the end of the season, or will they just have their high and mighty now and then they'll just drop off as the fixtures get higher and higher and more fixtures come along during the Christmas time?
Well, I think it'd be rude to say they're just going to drop off. At the minute, they're just playing with no fear. They've got nothing to lose, and they've got a fantastic, pacey, skillful front 3 or 4. I mean, Albrighton, I don't understand how he's not being given a call up to the England team because he's playing better than a lot of people at the minute.
Because he doesn't play for a top team.
Yes, but he should have been called up instead of Lingard for a prime example. He's played every single game in Leicester's amazing season. So I think it's crazy. But going back to Jamie Vardy, it's really frustrating when he tied the record with Van Nistelrooy. The first thing the commentator said was, "Oh yes, but he's got another 5 to go before he ties the all-time English record." And straight away they kind of put down the achievement instead of just saying, "Wow, well done, 10 goals, 10." It's not about a record in my opinion. It's the fact that he's hit the 10 games in a row he scored is an impressive number. It's double figures. So I just think he deserves a massive amount of praise, and I think if he continues to score as he is, Colin, I think there's no way he can't start for England next year at the Euros.
Yeah, so interesting question on that. So given that I have no sort of take going into the to the Euros next year, if Vardy and Harry Kane keep up the form that they're in at this point through the rest of the season, how much differently do you rate England's chances in the Euros than if they get cold?
I genuinely think Vardy will do a lot better than Harry Kane at the international level because I don't think foreign clubs, European clubs, are used to his style. He's a lot stronger than he looks. There was times he just barged our defence off the ball, and he has so much pace. So I think if they are still in form, Harry Kane's a goal scorer. We've seen that. I think it's five in a row now he's scored, so he's back on it. And he is a great player for England, Colin, but I think that type of play can be handled by European defence a lot better than Vardy. So I think Vardy has that little special thing which you only really see in the English game because, well, yeah, that's also a worry, Colin, actually, because if he goes in 50-50 for a shoulder badge, to kind of just get in front of the defender, are they going to get called up for fouls during the Euros? Well, because we've all seen in European football, tackles get given for free kicks, which wouldn't happen in the Premier League.
Sure, I think that's part of the dynamic of the international piece. And at least from a purely outsider's perspective, that's something I find to be grossly annoying, especially at the World
Very
Cup
annoying.
level. Well, as an American and sort of the U.S. national style is again sort of very much so in that same vein, right? It's a very physical, pace-driven, game. So you get into this World Cup
Well,
level.
with Beckham at the back,
Yeah.
you're going to have some tough tackles in the middle. And Bradley's not exactly a pushover.
No, I mean Bradley's a pretty tough tackler. Jermaine Jones, I mean, that he's made a
Yes.
career on bone crunching tackling. Beasler, Jeff Cameron, Cameron's plying his trade in,
Actually,
at Stoke,
Colin,
I believe, right? Yeah, it's at Stoke.
I mean, sorry for listeners for just jumping back, but I've been listening to a lot of podcasts on SoundCloud. I've literally just typed in the word football and see what comes up. And I was listening to a US one the other day, Colin, and they basically were talking about the left back situation for the US. Why isn't Brek Shea getting given a chance? They basically said they agreed that he shouldn't be called up because he's not strong enough to play there.
Yeah, I mean, part of the issue with Shea is he's a little bit sort of he's very injury prone, and from a pace fitness sort of level, he's shown some weaknesses and frailties. I mean, he was in and out of Orlando City this year. He had a couple of call-ups and didn't really produce well. I think he was in the Gold Cup squad and just really didn't show either. He hasn't translated well to that level. I think Tim Ream is got a fantastic, sort of potential behind him. I mean, he's a Fulham, so I think he's getting good exposure at a good level. Obviously, it'd be better if it was Premier level, I think. But okay, it's still not a slacking level of football. I think he'll be the left back of this World Cup qualifying cycle. But yeah, it is a very, very sort of dry.
I was
point.
I was actually shocked by how the podcast people were literally just dumping him there and then. He just said he's not good enough.
No, and I don't. I mean, he's obviously don't get me wrong. The guy's talented. I mean, he's he's certainly better than I am by any stretch of the imagination. But it's the durability, I think, is really the problem, right? When you get into that level, especially at the international level. So, this summer we're going to go into the Copa America, Centennial tournament. You're going to be doing World Cup qualifying. You're going to need to go out there and play, on 2 or 3 days rest. And at least to the last few cycles, he seems to have been incapable of doing that. And now the question is, okay, if you've only got a finite number of guys you can call up, where do you want to start applying the rotation to? And in reality, right, I think the argument's always been you don't really want to rotate your back four. It is, very much because it ruins the chemistry that they're building together. So now you've got a guy that you've brought in that comes in and goes out and comes in and goes out. So now you've got a chemistry problem, which has been the perennial argument between our fullbacks and our center backs is that we're always ruining the chemistry back there. So I think that's a big contributing factor. I mean, I think he is skillful and he's a good bench player at the international level. I mean, he's a dead ball specialist, to say the least. But I don't see him as a full-time left back.
Oh well, at least you've answered the question for me. Ryan, Dynamo's Zagreb midfielder, Ademi. He's been banned for 4 years after failing a drugs test following the Champions League win with Arsenal. Now, surely Arsenal are going to be claiming for the points from that.
You would think, but
it's surely been discussed since this news has come out because, I mean, it's going to have helped them. Well, it might not have done, but that's what they're going to claim.
Yeah, it depends on how he played. If he played an absolute stormer, I can't actually remember how he played in that game, but I added this in because it was Wenger that mentioned something about drug taking in football, and now this has come out and they've played against Arsenal. It's quite interesting to me. Maybe he did play a good game, and Arsene Wenger goes, he's played a good game. He must have been on drugs. We'll report him.
I would think that it's privately handled long before it's come out publicly. So maybe Wenger knew about it and he's just mentioning the press conference.
Yeah, very sly comment.
Right, something you've put in, and I've seen it all over, where the Thomas Zlatan said that he sent Denmark into retirement after scoring twice to seal Sweden's Euro 2016 place. At no point in a couple of the things that I've seen on the internet did he mention that the Denmark squad came out and said they were sending Zlatan into retirement before he said anything. No. So I find it very annoying that Denmark basically slagged Zlatan off and said, "Oh, we're going to send him into retirement." He's come out and destroyed them and basically just said, "Well, I've just sent the whole country into retirement." And only he's getting picked up for it.
It's a Zlatan thing. It's a Zlatan thing to say.
I know, but they said it to him first, poor lad.
I know. I've just put it in the notes as it was on the headline.
You're just picking on him.
No, I actually I love Zlatan. It's a Zlatan comment.
Is he coming to England?
I would love to see him in
England. Still,
I'd love to see him in England.
I think he could still do it. I just think it's I think it's going to be one of these stories which is going to run, and he's going to sign a bumper new deal at PSG.
I think he's coming to MLS.
Yeah, I'll keep dreaming, Colin.
No, I think
you don't even get relegated.
Makes it easier. No, I think
he's going to join Cosmos, isn't he? And go, what? What do you mean we don't get promoted?
No, I suspect I wouldn't. To be totally honest, and there has been some rumors circulating around. I wouldn't be surprised if either, if Beckham gets his Miami club squared up, if that's not a feature signing they're looking for, or if the secondary club in LA, which has long been sort of loosely associated with Ronaldo, when his contract at Real wipes out, I wouldn't be surprised if Zlatan's not also in the conversation for there.
Oh, can you imagine that? A club sets up and they go, okay, so who's your designated players? And they go, well, we've decided we're going to sign Cristiano Ronaldo and Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Ronaldo will not go to the MLS.
No, he's already stated he doesn't want to go to a smaller league. He wants to end at the top.
But he's talked quite openly in the press about the desire to come to MLS.
I know, but then that interview we did last week where he basically said all this stuff's been going around and this is the truth, and he came out and said he wants to end playing in the top league.
Oh, can you not imagine if they put a serious chunk of change for him to go to LA and to feed the ego of Ronaldo to be in LA?
See, it's not going to happen because in the interview that was exactly what he said. He said, "I'm 30 years old. Do you really think I need the money?"
No, but it's not the money though. And think about the ego.
Said.
No, it's the ego, right? Right, Ronaldo, everywhere he goes, right, wants to always be told he's the greatest thing in the world, right? So, what a better place to end up than to end up in LA, where the entire universe would revolve around him. I think he may explode from it. I think
Colin's got some secret hate for LA going on here.
I think he would explode from how much attention he would get.
Let us know in the comments if you listen on YouTube. Also leave a comment on SoundCloud. Do you think he's going to end up in the MLS? Is Colin's dream of watching Ronaldo in a competitive game against Red Bulls going to happen?
Or Zlatan?
That's not going to happen either. Colin's just dreaming.
I at least got to see Zlatan at Red Bull Arena.
You did. And I've got a scarf from the game. So thank you very much for that, Colin.
No problem.
But we're going to go on to the next topic, and I really want to pronounce this name. That's the only reason I'm picking this topic to talk. Gianluigi Donnarumma.
Yeah, I think you've done that right, yeah.
Donnarumma. So. Yeah, it's close. 16 years old, and he's in goal for AC Milan. Yeah, it's just a bit depressing. I mean, when I was 16, I definitely wasn't in goal for AC Milan.
Say it ain't so.
You were nowhere near Italy, never mind AC Milan.
You're shocked, aren't you? But it's already said he's hoping to emulate Buffon. Does he want to emulate Buffon? Personally, if I got interviewed, I would say I want to be the best goalkeeper ever. At 16, he's already in AC Milan's first team. I think he's got to aim for the top, hasn't he? I can understand he idolises Buffon, don't get me wrong. But I think it's unbelievable at the age of 16 he's in goal first team land. Fair play to the kid, literally.
Yeah, he's already marked out as potentially one of the best goalkeepers that they'll have in Italian football in the future.
I think
one to look
impressive.
out for, and any Football Manager fans, go check him out as well.
Check him out. Sign him before he gets stupidly expensive.
Yeah.
Oop, too late. But we're going to end on a nice funny story, Colin. So brace yourself for laughing. The Brecon City goalkeeper Graham Smith, not to name and shame him or anything, he made an 83-mile dash north to make his game at home at Brecon against Stenhousemuir. Now, why did he make an 83-mile dash north back to Brecon, Ryan?
Basically, he turned up at the wrong stadium.
He thought they were playing away from home where the club was actually playing at home, so after turning up at the wrong stadium he had to quickly drive as quick as he could within speed limits to Brecon's ground, and he did make it for kick-off. Can I just add to that? But I think that's got to be the funniest story I've heard this week, Colin.
By a long shot. You'd think someone posted a scheduler that he would write something down and say, like, hey, where am I supposed to be this week? You know, or when, 22 other guys then go, hey, how are you getting down there? That something would have tipped him off that maybe he was wrong.
I think his mates have just stitched him up.
I think it was only 83 miles though. Can you imagine doing that in like Egerton to Tromsø? Oh yeah, I'm at Tromsø. Where are you?
But yeah, that's the end of Beyond the Touchline tonight. I want to thank you for listening. Stay tuned for next week for more Beyond the Touchline. Tune in on Thursday night for the weekly Football Manager show if you are a Football Manager fanatic. But we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond the Touchline, a Football Manager Central podcast with your hosts, Paul, Ryan, and Colin. We'll catch you next time.